Hey everybody, have you considered starting a podcast? We here at Screwball highly recommend Podbean for getting your podcast out to a larger audience. Podbean has given us the ability to easily bring you Screwball each and every week on all of your favorite podcast services. Use the link podbean.com/screwball to sign up and save up to 35% annually. You can also use the link podbean.com/pro/screwball to sign up for a business subscription. Happy podcasting. Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host, Mike Lepre, here with my co-host, Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
We're on to episode 81 of Screwball, hitting the last week of the season here. As this goes live, we'll be in the thick of the last, I believe, 6 games for most teams at the end of the season here. Next week will be the recap of the last week. So this is the second to last episode that we'll do as far as a regular running show. So that's pretty exciting for a lot of teams. They're fighting away at a wild card or their division. Some teams have locked up, and some teams are looking to golf. So we'll talk about some of those playoff-bound teams, talk about some teams that are red hot lately. But first, let's get into our topic of conversation, as we usually do. The topic today, as usually brought by Frank, the topic today is, should World Series games bring back day games? So, as I usually do, I'll let Frank kind of lead this off because it is, he brings the topic. So, what are you kind of thinking? Do you think that World Series games should there at least be a game or two that's a day game, or what do you think?
Yeah, back a while ago, not too long ago, they used to have day games for World Series, at least a couple, and it was always a big thing. And people would watch them while they're at work, and they had the radio going, and schools would have them on the TVs and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that the MLB should, think about bringing at least a one-day game back to the World Series, especially since they had the World Series on games, on Friday, Saturday, Sunday at one point. It's definitely not a bad idea. You do play a lot of day games throughout the season. Some stadiums, they look great during day games. It's a different vibe. It kind of brings together a little bit of, both what you see during the season, not just all night game, not just all day games. It brings you that other aspect of it. Also, in some areas, you're playing in Boston in November, it can be quite cold. But if you play, maybe a 3 or 4 o'clock start, it's at least starting at daytime, it's usually a little bit warmer and you can get done, and still be under the lights. But I think the idea of bringing a day game back would be pretty cool. It's just kind of how baseball went for a long time. It was day games, only day games. Look at Wrigley, they didn't get night game till the 80s?
Yeah, something like that. Mm-hmm.
It was all day games.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of baseball was more day games.
Right.
So it kind of brings back the traditional feeling. So I think, bringing back a World Series day game, even if it's one day game, maybe on a Saturday. It doesn't have to be a 1 o'clock start. It could be 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. But it still starts during daytime. I think it would just be cool. Again, it brings the aspect of all baseball. Because throughout the year, you play a lot of day games.
Right.
Some teams are better at day games. Some guys are better at day games. It just brings you that extra piece of the puzzle that you see throughout the year. Because throughout the year, you see a little bit of everything. It's cold, it's snowing, it's raining, it's hot, it's muggy, it's day game, it's night game, it's windy, it's everything. World Series, you get some of that. If you bring a day game, at least you bring more of it. Like, hey, this is kind of represents our season. It's day game, it's cold, it's a little bit, brings a little bit of everything. And also, you get viewership, I think. You would get viewership out of it. Because some of these night games, they don't start till 8 o'clock. To World Series games, so that means it's going until like 11:30.
Oh, yeah.
So you're losing people on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
If you start a day game, especially maybe on a weekend or something, people are gonna watch them. Even if you did it during the week, people are gonna watch them.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they're at work, they're gonna watch and listen to the radio. They're gonna pay attention on the phone or something like that. You're not gonna lose them. You do playoff games. Your playoff games are day games at times. You don't lose viewership there, so they should think about doing a day game. Bring that aspect into it. I think it's just a cool thing to see a day game, World Series game. It would be pretty cool. And also, what you could do, if it's before travel day, you give them extra time. You play at 3 o'clock, and the next day's travel day. Well, instead of getting done at midnight, and then the next day's travel, and you come back at 8 o'clock, get done at 7, 8 o'clock at night, you get an extra 3-4 hours, essentially off. So it would give the guys more time off between games, almost, more off time, I guess, almost like an extra half off day. So there's another thing they could think about.
Yeah, that's true. I think the way that they typically, I could be totally wrong, but I think the way they typically do the World Series schedule is because it's 2-3-2. You do Tuesday, Wednesday, you get 2 games. Then you have a travel day, Thursday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you get 3 games. If it goes the 5th game, someone could get swept. But if it goes the 5th game, you have Sunday. Then Monday's the travel day. And then, if it goes game 6 and 7, you have Tuesday and Wednesday again. That could be totally wrong, but I believe that is how they do it. I think even hockey and basketball typically start on Tuesdays for their finals. But if that's the case, then you're thinking you could do Wednesday, the game 2. You could do a 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock game. Because then if you're thinking West Coast people are getting home from work and they're still able to watch the game. They don't blow their whole night. You're not competing with football. Because ideally you want game 1, game 7 under the lights. It kind of has a vibe to it. Then you have the weekend series. When you're thinking, I'm thinking more for the basis of viewership, because really you can do whatever you want. Because if you have, say, Friday, after a travel day, you do an afternoon game. Then you have all the night Friday and all day Saturday, essentially, you give these guys rest. But when you're talking viewership, ideally Friday you would want a night game. And Saturday would probably be the prime, especially because you're competing with football. It would be the prime day to do an afternoon game. You could catch people on Saturday. College football is on. Not a direct competitor like the NFL. You could definitely get some up viewership there, as opposed to competing on a Sunday with 1 and 4 o'clock football games. Might not be the most ideal for baseball. So I think you could definitely do, game 2, game 4, maybe game 6. You could do like that. But I think you're more notably or historically important games, game 1, game 7, stuff like that, I think you keep as a night game. I just think that there's just a better vibe there. But I'm not opposed to day games coming back. I mean, I would like if they were all night, but me personally, because I'll watch them whatever time of day it is. Me personally, I always like the vibe of a night game. But if they were, then like you said, they do playoff games during the day. So, and I don't miss them.
Yeah.
So they could definitely do it, and I'd watch. But
yeah, I think schedule-wise and logistically-wise, game 1 would actually make sense to be a day game, because then you're not playing, if you play a day game after a night game kind of theory, if you played game 2. But if you start game 1 as as a day game, it would make more sense. But game 3, I think, could easily be on a Friday day game. That would give you that extra time to Saturday. I think game 7 and 6 should be under the lights. And really, I think you really shouldn't try messing with game 5, because, 5, 6, and 7, obviously, you're going to get most of the time one of those games end in the series.
Right.
Yes, 4 can do it, but
most of the time not.
Yeah. So you don't mind if that's a day game. You really don't. I'm not saying that it's not going to change much, but I'd rather have a clinch it at night, But a day game, maybe game 3. Or if you really want to start the series with game 1, it would make more sense logistically that you start it with game 1.
Yeah, game 3 seems to be a prime.
It was
prime
Friday
opportunity.
afternoon. It would just get people. You catch people's attention, I think. 3 o'clock start, 4 o'clock start, something like that. It doesn't have to be, 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock. It doesn't have to be that early. But 3, 4 o'clock, I think it's not bad. Starts sort of day, ends at night.
You could even do 5 o'clock for the East Coast, and then it's 2 o'clock on the West Coast. You could do something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it would be, as I said, it brings back some of the differences that we don't see in the playoffs or much of the playoffs in the World Series we haven't seen in a long time. The day game, and again, if you're in a cold place and it's during the day, it might be a little bit warmer, stuff like that. And games aren't ending at 12 o'clock at night on the East Coast.
Right.
That game at least. So it's definitely not a bad idea. I think it also would help with bringing kids to watch it too. Well, let's be honest, kids through 6th, 7th grade, for the most part, they're sleeping or in bed by 9, 10 o'clock. At least through those ages, you would think at a good shot. I mean, it is 8th grade, 9th grade, you could be. But most likely, at least through the first 1 to 5, 1 to 6, possibly 7, you're kind of in bed early. So you're not going to get to see that game. So,
yeah.
And then the fan has got to get up early. Might not see it. But if you started earlier, they might be able to catch that game. When they're getting out of school or whatever. And you might be able to get that viewer. And that's, to be honest, you want that kid watching.
Right.
Almost more than you want that guy watching who's older and put his years in MLB in baseball. You want the kid because he's going to help grow the game.
That's true. That's a good point.
It's not a bad idea to kind of tailor more towards maybe getting a day game for younger viewers than tailor it to the older crowd. They're locked in.
Yeah.
They've been watching for 40, 50 years. They're fans.
Yeah.
The kid's been watching for 2 years and on and off and doesn't really know what's going on. They're not locked in. So it's not a bad idea to try locking that in and try getting them to watch.
True. That's a good point. I think, what have they done in the past? Like 6, 7 o'clock games, or have they done 8 o'clock games?
They usually still like 8 o'clock.
Yeah, it's a bit late. As well for East Coast, because if you're on the West Coast, it starts at 5, you're good, you know?
Yeah. 3 hours on the East Coast. It's just, if it's only 3 hours, it's 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
It's not too bad. Even the Super Bowl starts early.
Yeah, that's
Super Bowl
true.
starts 6:30.
Yeah, which is...
The reason for that, and they're done by 11 o'clock because of that big halftime show. So there's no problem with the baseball starting a couple of hours early and making a game or two start 3, 4 o'clock. Sun's up, and by the time the game's getting going, the sun's down. So you still get both feels, day game and night game at that time.
Yeah.
If you're on the East Coast, or if you're on the West Coast, it's going to be all day game no matter what you do.
You can even just make it a point to just say, hey, game 3 from now on will be a day game or something like that. You could just say, hey.
You're not going to lose viewer, you know. I don't think you're going to lose people. March Madness, they start at 11:30 a.m. And people, they're on a Wednesday. People are locked in. They're watching that. They don't give a shit if they're working or not. They're watching.
Especially,
or whatever.
Oh yeah, absolutely. March Madness, absolutely. People watch it at all times of the night. Same thing with the Olympics. You see people watching at 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
But it also depends on. I mean, it always depends with the World Series, but it always depends on the team too. Say it's a Yankees-Dodgers World Series, which would be a marquee matchup. You know, you could pretty much broadcast whenever you want. You're getting both the East Coast and West Coast audience, and you're probably getting more average viewers because of the two titans of franchises. That's not to say that World Series is worth more. It's just it makes it a little easier for the MLB schedulers. If they do make a day game, it might make them look better. Like, oh, you see, people are watching, as opposed to maybe, not to trash the fans or anything, but like a Rays, say the Phillies make a Rays-Phillies World Series or something. You know, it's just not the same as something like a marquee matchup like that. Or Yankees-Braves or Boston-Braves or something like that. You know, so I think that matters too. That if they were to bring back day games, you'd also have to take a look at the matchup. Would the numbers reflect because of it being a day game or because of who's playing? You know what I mean? So that also, they might have to do like a 3-year stretch and see where it goes. So I'm not opposed to bringing one day game back, but like you said too, games 5, 6, and 7 ideally you should keep especially if game 5 is a Sunday. Again, you just don't want to mess with football. If you just have to go up against one football game, that's enough, you know? So 5, 6, and 7, you like to, like you said, clinch under the lights. And if you make game 4 a day game and someone sweeps, then, you know, it'd be kind of cool to see someone clinch in the day. I can't remember the last time, if ever, that happened, you know, back in the day when they didn't have lights at the fields. The only time I can think of. But yeah, so, I mean, World Series, and I just looked at the schedule to see if they had any sort of idea. It is going to be Tuesday, Wednesday weekend, and then Tuesday, Wednesday again. But it leaks into November this year, which I know they had avoided, I think, the last 2 seasons or so.
Last year, for sure.
And I think the season before that, I think they tried getting it done before November, but they're back to November baseball, which can be exciting and cold. Yeah. But yeah, so we'll see, you know, maybe they could do some scheduling tricks like that. I don't know if they have anything planned, but you never know. They pull every other trick out of their hat, baseball lately, so you never know. Let's move on to the news section of the show. So a lot of this is going to be playoff and team related. So number 1, the Cardinals are probably the most electric team in baseball. So following their still active 16-game winning streak as of today, as of recording Monday, the St. Louis Cardinals are now just 1 win away from clinching the second wild card spot, and will be playing either the LA Dodgers in LA or the San Francisco Giants in San Francisco, depending on how the West shakes out. So the Cardinals just really came strong out of, you know, a season where they were kind of teeter-tottering a lot. You know, they were above 500 and below 500 and above and below. And now they look like they could really be a problem for a team like the Dodgers, who kind of cruised 100 wins all season. So all of a sudden now you have a team to worry about, an extra team to worry about in the playoffs. So what do you think of the Cardinals? I know we both kind of, you especially, been sporting them all year.
Oh, yeah, the Cardinals, they're getting healthy. They've been hurt a lot of the year. They still are quite hurt, but they're getting healthier, and they're getting used to playing with each other, and they're getting the feel of being together. And not for nothing, but if there's one team that the franchise, the Dodgers, don't want to see, it's the Cardinals. Because how many years did the Cardinals beat Kershaw in the playoffs? And how many years did they always... It was like 4 years in a row. I don't want to see them.
No.
So you don't want to see them. But the Cardinals are red hot. They're just that team. I said it a month and a half ago. I'm like, they got a shot at the division. They're down 10 games in the division. And obviously, they didn't come back on the division. They made a shot out of here. I think the division leads down to like 6 games, or 7 games. But it's over. You can't obviously win that.
Yeah.
But they just do that. They get red hot. They know how to win. They know how to get to the playoffs. And they're a team similar to the A's, where it's like they just know what's going on, so they'll get going, and that's what they just did. They're red hot.
Yep.
I mean, coming out early, winning games, winning close 1-0 games against the Brewers, losing and come back and win. They not like they just came out and beat the snot out of everybody. Did it one way. They've done it every single way against good teams in the hunt teams. Brewers in the hunt, leading the division, trying to clinch the division. Reds chasing the wild card. Padres chasing the wild card. And then the Cubs, a bit of a rebuilding team, but, still, division rival.
Yep.
At Wrigley. And beat them. So they've beaten a little bit of everything. One of the better teams in the NL, 2 contending teams, and a low dog rival team. So, they're not like they're just beating up. Well, they played the Pirates 10 times, and they played, the Diamondbacks, and they played a bunch of low teams. They're playing the heart of the NL.
Oh, yeah.
So the Cardinals are... they almost need to lose a game or 2 here for the wild card game. Otherwise, you're due to lose. That kind of theory.
Yeah, right.
But the Cardinals are red hot, and they're a team that can go right to the World Series. 07 Rockies. That's the vibe they get.
Yeah.
They can go right to the World Series. Their franchise, their team, their players are just good enough. They have a really good team. Flaherty's back. Dakota Hudson's back. I mean, they got a really strong team. They can really go. They could go to the World Series. They could win a World Series.
Mm-hmm. And the NL, other than, you got the Dodgers. Whoever comes out of the East, as far as how the Braves have played this season, you're not really too worried about them if you're hot.
Cardinals
Brewers
seem to have their number, too.
Yeah.
Years. Cardinals played the Braves, 3 years in a row?
Yeah, it seemed,
the Cardinals beat them 2 out of the 3, I think, and took them to Game 5, the other one.
Yeah, so, you're not strangers to them, and they're not playing their best baseball. You got the Brewers, who you've seen all year, so you know what to expect there. And the Giants, God only knows, they've been playing good all year, but God only knows what happens in the playoffs. So, you got a Cardinal team, and like you said, the only thing I'm worried about personally is, you are due to lose. You can't win, say, if you ran all the way to the World Series, you'd have to win what's that,
40 games, 45 games at this point.
Yeah, you got to lose at some point.
Yeah.
So don't pick the wild card game to do it, because it is one game. So, Cardinals are red hot, and that second wild card all of a sudden got really non-competitive, as competitive as it was probably shaping up to be.
Yeah, and they like I said, they have a lot of guys who've been there and done that, and the playoff field they've been playing with, and it's playoff time. One September game, they went red hot and won 16 in a row. So it tells you that they were like, okay, it's playoff time. Now they got that, every game's a playoff game, and they won 16 in a row. So you can see when they know it's playoff time, it's Molina, Wainwright, they turn it up. Goldschmidt, Arenado, it's all right, it's time to go.
Yep.
So, and Goldschmidt and Arenado, not huge playoff success. So they want to go.
Oh, yeah.
You got Wainwright and Molina, huge playoff success. So, they got it going right now. Excitement, power, speed. They got a little bit of everything. The team's really good. That team has some of the most talent in MLB.
Yep.
When it's fully healthy. Padres, too, they fell apart. But if you're going to compare talent with the Cardinals and then compare the Giants' talent, the Cardinals are way more talent than the Giants have.
I agree.
This is hands down. Cardinals are red hot, and they can definitely cause a ruckus in that NL. 2 teams coasting along all year. A third team with the Brewers maybe even coasting along kind of. And all of a sudden, a team's going to come in, red hot, punch them in the mouth. Same with the issue the White Sox can see. Coast along pretty much all year, and then all of a sudden, time to turn a switch, and they get punched in the mouth by a team who's been playing playoff baseball since August.
And not for nothing, but the White Sox, just to not get off the tangent of the Cardinals, but the White Sox have just about the same record as the wild card teams. So it's not like they're setting the world on fire, and they've been cruising all year. So, they're a lot different than the Cardinals, who have to fight for everything at this point. They're not that they're going to catch the Dodgers or anything, but they've had to fight. They had to fight for that second wild card. It took something like this to get it. To knock the Padres out and to knock the Mets out, and
Reds.
Yeah. So
keep the Phillies out essentially.
Yeah. So it took.
The Phillies are playing good baseball as well.
Oh yeah. They're still fighting a little bit for that East. They got a shot.
Cardinals are that team that can go to the World Series right now. circa 06. A couple games over 500 and going to the World Series. 2011, never count them out. Team when they went to the World Series and won. They always do that. You never count them out. And here we go again. So.
Yep, I agree. So we'll see what happens with them and just in general that NL wild card, because you have a team like the Dodgers that, again, just have a 100-win year and they're just really good. And then you have the Cardinals come out. Not that the Cardinals aren't talented. It's just a team that just comes out of nowhere.
The Cardinals they got 89 wins already.
Probably, yeah.
They have like
like
89
that.
wins. That's a great year.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone said how Boston's had a great year. Cardinals the same record. So you can say it's one stretch, but it's a great year.
Oh,
so it's going to be exciting, and they're going to be. You don't want to see them. That's for sure. And a lot of these games have been on the road against the Reds and the Padres and the Cubs. So it's not just like, oh, they're at home and they're going. So they don't mind going on the road in this wild card game being the underdog. They got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You got 100 wins and you're a wild card team. You got a lot to lose.
Absolutely.
You're the Cardinals. You got nothing to lose. We just won 16 in a row to get here. We're not scared of anything.
Yeah, we're ready to go.
So that should be exciting. And the Cardinals are definitely a scary team. And that's the team I had for the NL. This is one of the reasons, just that they can do this.
Mm-hmm.
They did it earlier in the year. They won 12 out of 13 games.
Yeah, I remember
May
that.
or something. It took the division, and then they got hurt and kind of fell apart.
Mm.
But now, getting some injury guys back, here they go again.
Yeah. There's no, there's a reason that we picked them for the Central Division leaders,
Same reason why, you pick the A's. They're a team that can just, here we go again.
Yep.
They're going to find guys that you never heard of, plug them in, 4 home runs in 3 days, and batting 600 that week, and then they'll pull this guy out. Why just sit him? Well, wait a minute. Watch this guy. Pull him in. He'll hit a couple home runs and bat 500, and then they just keep plugging these guys in, and all of a sudden,
Those are your best teams, too. Everyone plays a role.
for 2 years, and the team's nuts. It's what they do.
Yep.
So, but some other news here, just a playoff update. The NL East, Atlanta holds 2.5 game over the Phillies. The NL West, Giants are 2 games up on the Dodgers. NL wild card's all but over, as we just mentioned. I think if Phillies lose 1 game, it's over. Or the Cardinals win a game, it's over. Yeah. So it's all but over. I guess you never say never, but it's over. The AL wild card, Yankees are holding 1 game on Boston, 2 games on Toronto, 3 games on Seattle, and 4 games on Oakland for the number 1 seed, which means Boston is 1 game back on the Yankees for the number 1 seed, holding 1 game on Toronto, 2 on Seattle, 3 on Oakland for the last playoff spot. So that's where we're at right now. So the playoff and the AL can have like I seen things saying that 4 or 5 team tiebreaker, and you'd have 3 teams playing in to get to the game, and then all these teams playing in just to get to the play-in game, just then to get into the wild card, 1 game to get into the playoffs.
It's insane.
So as much as we've seen it for how many years, it never actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if it does this year. But eventually it will. It could be this year. And all these teams have been a mess. Yankees mess. Boston's a mess. Toronto's a mess. Seattle, I don't even know to tell you. In Oakland, you like to think they're out, but again, they could win this next week and sneak into the playoffs, and then win their 16 in a row when they're in the World Series against the Cardinals and all ruckus. And then you have a World Series game in Oakland, which MLB would explode.
Yeah, they would.
So
$8,000 tickets.
Yeah, for 3 guys in the stands. So it would be. We got a ruckus here.
Mm-hmm.
1 week. That's the final week of the season, so we're gonna have all our ruckus. Our 162 game ruckus is coming to an end.
Yeah, it's exciting. The NL's pretty much all but wrapped up here. By the time this goes live, you may even see the Braves just about be wrapping it up. Or the Phillies coming back. You never know what goes on out there. The AL, really all you got to watch is the wild card because the West's locked up. Central and East are clinched.
Locked up, yeah.
I think the Astros are probably 1 game or 2?
I think it might be 2 because the Astros have cooled off a little bit. It might be 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, so
technically a shot, but not much of a shot.
Yeah, so I mean, the divisions are pretty much locked up. Pretty much all divisions in baseball except for the NL East, and even then, it's
in the West 2 games.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, well, you know which 2 teams are.
Yeah, but they're in the playoffs at least.
Yeah, so it's really the AL wild card. It's going to be absolutely nuts. And it's gonna be great fun to watch. I wish I was one of the teams that we were just in the playoffs, but whatever. So let's move on to number 2 part of the news. This one was a weird piece of news that I just happened to see coming across. Doing news for the show. Is Montreal back? The Rays recently conveyed its ongoing pursuit of creating a split city plan between Tampa Bay and Montreal. The Rays plan on pushing the issue by having a graphic on the outfield fence at Tropicana being prominently shown throughout their 2021 postseason run. So, in the past, I believe it was 2019, the Rays planned on doing either moving to Montreal or doing a split city thing. So now they're pushing the issue. So you could see, what do you have? You have 81 games at home. You can see 80. You could see 40 games at Tampa Bay, 41 games in Montreal, or vice versa, which is, I guess, what they ideally want. My big issue here is, what do you do when you have a dual country payroll for a player or coaches? Does that can't be easy.
Well, players.
Nor do the players probably want that.
Go live in Toronto for half a year and then live in Tampa. Not like they're close by.
No.
So it'd be tough for them.
Yeah, it's just such a weird. I don't know what the thought is there. Don't get me wrong. I want to see a Montreal team, but
and then do you get two new stadiums? Do you now have a new Tampa stadium and Montreal stadium? Because now you have to pay for both of them. Or you're playing at both older stadium, which seems to be the problem why the teams left in the first place.
I don't.
So you're just running into more problems than you have the answers for. It's like, sounds like a crazy idea, but if you're not having the answers or pieces put together, then you're just, you can't just say you want to do something and not be like, well, how are we gonna get there? It's like,
Figure it out.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't know what their idea is there. Again, I would like to see a Montreal team, but it's not this way.
Yeah, no.
It just doesn't make any sense.
No, it's a great way to not get the fans who want to be there.
Yeah,
it's a great way to strike out in that market again.
Yeah, and they're already not a great market.
So,
yeah.
Some other news I got here: Wander Franco extends his on-base streak to 41 games. He's going nuts. So coming back from an IL, and he's still going nuts. And Corey Seager and Trey Turner both hit their 100th career home runs in the same game.
I didn't even hear about that.
That's a pretty cool stat as well. So that's just a little bit of news surrounding our last week of the season here.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like I said, I didn't even know that happened, so it's just pretty cool to hear. Let's move on to the wrap-up for the news, number 3. Who's doing the best right now? The Giants still own the best record in the league at 102-54 with 6 games left to play. The Dodgers are the next closest in the NL at 156. Over in the AL, the Rays still own the best record by quite a bit. I believe they're just 1 game away from clinching home field. They have a 97-59 record. The Astros are the next closest at 91-65. The Dodgers own the best run differential, still own the best run differential at the league at plus 247, while the Orioles still own the worst at minus 278.
Yeah, that's just how it goes anymore. But some other teams I got here that have been hot: Rays, Yanks, Mariners, Braves, Phillies, and Cardinals. They're all playoff contenders, so they're red hot. They're trying to do their best at the right time. Some cold teams: Red Sox just got swept by the Yankees. Astros, Mets, Marlins, Cubs, and Padres. A couple of those teams are playoff contenders or playoff bound, so that's something to take note of. But those are some hot and cold teams that I just wanted to mention here quickly.
Yeah, I mean, surprising that the Red Sox and the Yankees. It was a big series for the Yankees and really could have potentially really hurt the Red Sox. I was actually very surprised at that series. But let's move on to the who's hot and who's not section of the show. This week we had 2 players of the week that were offensive players, so we got both of them listed here as usual. Number 1, who's hot and who's not? The hot player of the week, AL player of the week, Giancarlo Stanton. Went absolutely nuts against the Red Sox. Yeah. Batted .474 over the last week with an 11.58 slugging and a 16.82 OPS. I think he had a home run in every game of that series. So that,
not just home runs, man, the shots.
Oh, yeah, and they were all, I believe all 3 of them were either go-ahead or like game-clinching shots. Like they, you know what I mean? Like they were daggers. Let's put it that way.
Needed them.
So he came up big for his team. Here's another guy coming up big for his team, number 2, Harrison Bader. Batted .538 over the last week with a 10.38 slugging and a 15.94 OPS. Just going absolutely nuts. Number 3, Brandon Belt. Batting .458 over the last week with an 8.75 slugging and a 14.27 OPS. Guy like him helping the Giants kind of just keep doing their thing with 102 wins. Number 4, Trey Turner. .458 average. 9.17 slugging and a 14.35 OPS. As far as I understand, doing really good with the Dodgers in his time there, and just continues to have really good seasons. Number 5, Paul Goldschmidt, batting .429 over the last week with a .1036 slugging, a .1536 OPS, and I think he had like 5 home runs this week.
Yeah,
just
470-foot home run he had at Wrigley, and he's been doing everything he's got.
You look at the Cardinals got their 16-game win streak. You got Paul Goldschmidt and Harrison Bader, right on this 2 of 5 hot
and that's
guys.
Not even including Tyler O'Neill and Arenado, who've been having great years.
And even Yachty. You can't forget about guys like that. It's just they're going nuts.
yeah, all the right time here. So, yeah, some other guys I got to mention here. Juan Soto, been playing well. Miguel Cabrera, having a great finish to the season. And JT Realmuto. Big reason why the Phillies are still in hunt here.
Yeah.
And Harper. So, those are some other guys who've been playing well. Some pitchers who have been doing well. Max Fried had another Maddox complete game on 100 pitches. Shane Baz, first 2 starts in the majors have been pretty good. Giolito, pitching great. I think he had 6 shutout innings the other day. So he's starting to kind of figure it out a little bit. Or not really figure it out because he hasn't been bad this year. But if he can get on one of those rolls, going to the playoffs, that'd be great for them. Giovanni Gallegos for the Cardinals, 4 saves this week. He's been lights out since he took over the closer role and just took it over. Because it was like a committee after Reyes had struggled a little bit. And he was like, it's mine now. He showed why. And Liam Hendrick's been pitching really good for the White Sox here.
Yeah.
And they're, just pursuit to be healthy when the playoffs start.
Yeah, a lot of those guys you could see. You got Cardinal guy in there. Liam Hendricks has been good for the last few seasons now. He's pretty locked down. So, yeah, definitely some guys there you kind of expect to be on that list. Max Fried, my Cy Young pick, if he just didn't just forget how to pitch the first part of the season, he'd probably be in there. Yeah.
He was hurt for a while, too.
Because I think he's actually having a pretty good year up to this point. But
oh, yeah. Well, you can't hold a good player down too long.
No. Let's move on to the cold players, the who's not of the week. Number 1, Matt Chapman, 0.48 average, a 190 slugging, a 357 OPS. If not mistaken, just an underwhelming year on his part and might be contributing to the A's kind of wishy-washy season. Number 2, Jerickson Profar, another kind of team that's just, they're at this point they're eliminated. So, batted 0.63 over the last week with a 0.63 slugging and a 312 OPS. Number 3, Josh Harrison. Batted 0.87 over last week with an 0.87 slugging and a 247 OPS. My pick for comeback player of the year. I can't believe he's actually still playing.
Great.
Number 4, Carlos Correia. 105 average over last week with a 105 slugging and 287 OPS. And number 5, Trey Mancini. 105 average with a 105 slugging and a 296 OPS over the last week.
Yeah. Those are some guys. I had a couple of them on my list as well. Other guys to mention who had not been playing well. G-Man Choi for the Rays. And a little bit smaller sample size, but for obviously one of the best teams in the AL, it's noteworthy. Take note that he's not been playing that well. And the Cubs, maybe one of the greatest rookie hitters the Cubs have ever seen. By the stats, one of them, Patrick Wisdom. As much as people don't, I didn't even believe it until 2 weeks ago, and they're like, yeah, he's actually having a great year and one of the Cubs' best rookies they've ever had.
Didn't he break the rookie home run record?
Bryant's rookie home run record. So it's great. It's crazy, but he is cold right now. None of these guys, too, other than maybe Matt Chapman and Choi, have really been. I think they've all been like about 100, so that's not the worst if you're going to be cold.
No.
Have we seen?
You're right.
4 guys, it was a 0 like last week. So, it's noteworthy. Some cold pitchers. Tyler Anderson for Mariners, not pitching great. Brett Anderson for the Brewers, not pitching great. Something with the Anderson name last week. Carlos Carrasco for the Mets. I don't want to keep beating the Mets up because they beat themselves up, but obviously just, when you're bad, you're bad, so you got to be noted.
Sure.
Adam Savali for the Indians struggling, and Taijuan Walker for the Mets after a really first half it was great. Second half kind of been up and down, and recently been down.
Yeah, and he was really good for the first part of the season.
He was in the NL Cy Young race at least.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Somewhere in
Top
there,
5 maybe, contender.
Yeah, well, when you had him and DeGrom in that rotation to start the year, it looked pretty good.
Yeah. And then the reinforcements coming back were Carrasco and Syndergaard, but they never seemed to come back. Well, Syndergaard never came back, and Carrasco wasn't much to come back to.
Non-existent, yeah, just about.
But to get to our next segment, bring back, brought in kind of injuries there was injuries, as we always do. The Yankees dealing with a couple more minor injuries. Judge, small dislocation of his pinky, popped back in place yesterday, stayed in the game, good to go. Torres bumped on the head by Stanton because he's, a whack-a-mole over there. He's 8 foot tall. Torres is 4 foot tall. Bumped him on the head. He's fine. Gallo had some sort of stiffness in his back or neck or something yesterday. He stayed in the game. He's fine. So they're all going to be fine. The playoffs are coming. So you're going to be fine. Or you're going to at least tell you we're fine until the offseason. Then you're like, oh, I struggled because I needed surgery. Which brings me to LeMahieu, who came out and said that he will need off-season surgery on his groin area. Been struggling with it for a while this year, and recently he got an MRI for the first time this year. And he was like, yeah, it's something I've been dealing with, but it's nothing. I'll be fine. I'm just going to have to take care of it in the off-season. So those are some things to take note for a team pushing for a playoff spot. Greinke placed in the IL. Elvis Andrus placed in the IL. J.D. Davis for the Mets placed on the IL. Archie Bradley on the IL as well. So those are some guys. Most of those teams, except J.D. Davis, all those teams are still in the hunt. So that's something to take note for. And Bellinger placed on the IL after his awful season. He's putting up stats that are probably worse than 2011 Adam Dunn stats. The 2011 Adam Dunn stats were almost record-breaking. Bad. He's worse than them. So, and he's an MVP. So don't forget about that. And Brandon Belt hit on the hand yesterday, 93-mile-per-hour pitch. He's going to get some tests. So they're worried about that, obviously, because he's been kind of the meat and potatoes in the lineup.
Sure.
And then also Nola for the Padres shut down for the rest of the year. On the better side of injury news, Jameson Taillon activated for the Yankees. Shane Bieber activated, big-name pitcher. Carlos Rodon expected to pitch here this coming week. Michael Brantley progressing. He took batting practice the other day. Jake Odorizzi activated off the IL for the Astros. Jack Flaherty pitched Friday. Through 19 pitches, he gave a couple runs and didn't last long. But he's going to, hopefully the idea is to get him stretched out for a couple innings here for the playoffs. And maybe he could pitch 3-4 innings. And if they go deeper in the playoffs, maybe he goes a little longer. But to hope to at least have him a couple innings each day or every other day would be great for them to add to their already craziness. Dakota Hudson activated off the IL after, I think, a short Tommy John rehab.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's been the full year, and he's back. So I think they're going to use him out of the bullpen, which makes more sense. That's big for them, too. And Jordan Hicks, a surprise rehab assignment. He pitched, I think the other day, he pitched at AAA. And they still say that he's not expected back this year. He's expected back next year. But he just made a rehab assignment a couple days ago, AAA. So maybe they're going to try sneaking him in, or he'll talk his way in. But the guy throws 105. So we'll see if they can get him. That's big 3 people for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And then Lorenzo Cain, after making a catch at the wall the other day, was day-to-day. Just something to take note of because the Brewers clinched and, playoffs are coming. So hopefully he's not too banged up if you're a Brewers fan or a Lorenzo Cain fan. But yeah, those are some injuries. For the most part, not too much going on. You're not going to hear too much from people. If they're banged up, they're playing. It's playoff time.
Yeah.
So it's unless you're really hurt, you're going to be playing. So this injury list is obviously going to go. First half's going to be quite small. Second half's going to be quite big. People coming back because it's playoff time.
Yeah, like you said, if they're not really hurt, they're going to want to play. They're going to push to play, and the teams, depending who it is and what it is, are probably going to push for them to be on the field if they can push through it. Because you only got, if you're in the play, if you're dead, if you're locked in the playoffs and you're not a wild card team, you're guaranteed at least 3 games of a division series. So see what happens.
Well, you want to get a couple swings and some innings pitched before the playoffs. You don't want to be like, oh, yeah, it's just kind of my rehab assignment. It's the playoffs.
Yeah.
Not a great idea.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's pretty much it for injuries, which is good. Last part of the episode here is our trivia question. And with this being the final week of the season, I think for my notes here, this is week 26.
Something like
Sounds
that.
about right.
Yeah, about that.
We have a trivia question. I wanted to keep it somewhat what we talk about, which I try doing each week. So I want to do, what was the last game 163 we've seen? We've had some memorable ones back then and all that crap. But when was the last one we've seen?
I forgot about it.
Yeah.
Completely forgot about it.
Yeah, and that is in 2018, not long ago. The LA Dodgers, played at the Rockies, game 163 for the division. Dodgers had 91 wins that year. Rockies had 91 wins after the Rockies won like 7 in a row, or 6 out of 7 to get to 163. Dodgers beat the Rockies 5-2 to take the division, to take the NL West, and they end up going on to lose to the Red Sox in the World Series 4-1. So that just shows you if the Rockies would have won that game, did the Dodgers go to the World Series? I don't know. Do the Rockies then go to the World Series? That's how big that game was.
Yeah.
But Dodgers went on to lose 4-1 to Boston, the Red Sox.
Red hot Boston team.
Yeah.
It was a very good team.
So I believe the only game they won that year in the World Series. The Dodgers was Eovaldi pitched 8 innings out of the bullpen.
That marathon game that went into like 16 innings or whatever.
18 innings or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, so the last game 163 was in 2018. Dodgers at Rockies. Dodgers went on to win it 5-2. The Dodgers that season ended up losing to the World Series champion Boston Red Sox 4-1.
Yeah, I completely forgot. Because my first thought with the game 163 is you're trying to get into the playoffs. Not the I'm trying to win the division and not be a wild card team. Because, if you don't want to be a wild card team now, because then your season is relying on one game. As opposed to, say 2003, you're a wild card team. Oh, well, now I just got to play the best seed. It's a little different now to where, hey, hopefully we don't lose this one game. Now we're out of the playoffs.
One
after
pitch and the season's all over.
Yeah.
You say that with every game, but 3 games you got a shot at making it up.
Yeah, at least
one game it's you get 9 innings.
Yeah, which is it's just the antithesis of baseball in a lot of ways, but it is exciting. I can't sit here and say it's not exciting.
Yeah, it also brings you closer to some other sports, so like football, where it's just like you're in and out, or
right.
College football, or March Madness, and some of the bigger things where it's like you're in or out.
Yeah.
So it also brings you closer to them sports instead of being like, oh, it's always a series.
Yeah.
It brings you closer to them, which is excitement.
Yeah, it's do or
game
die.
7 all time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the trivia question. Also, just to note, a long time ago, game 163 is actually used to be a 3-game series.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
So that was something I took note to. That would be pretty cool. But that's an idea maybe for the wild card going forward, maybe a 3-game series. That'd be pretty cool. First game. First game could be on the road if you're the 1 seed, and the last 2 at home. So you get game 2 and 3 at home, or you get all 3 at home. That's what you get for being the higher seed. For the wild card, you get all 3 games at home. They could do something like that, but that'd be exciting too.
Yeah,
it would bring you to the baseball aspect of it.
Yeah, that would be more. Yeah, that'd be more baseball as opposed to hey, you got 1 game, good luck.
Yeah, I would think that they should probably just do the higher seed gets all 3 games. It just makes more sense. No travel. But if you're going to do travel, they should be able to pick what they want.
Right.
Do you want the first and second game home, or do you want game 2 and 3? I think I'd take game 2 and 3.
That's what I would want.
I win 1 on the road. I think I win 1 at home. Last 2 games. But if I lose that 1, at least I got 2 games at home now.
Yeah, then you can make it up. Yeah.
If I lose game 1 at home, and now game 2's at home, and now no matter what, I got to win on the road.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So, but that would just put some more strategy in it too. But that's topic for a different day.
Yeah. Right. Well, we're looking at the last week of the season here. It's sad but true. Postseason baseball is always exciting, but it sucks to see the season go away. 162 games almost down. By the time this goes live, like I said, we'll be looking at about 5 games left for a lot of teams, and and then we'll do our playoff predictions. We'll see who's sitting there and who we think could do it. So that's exciting too, doing playoff predictions. And retrospective on the season.
Yeah, it's exciting time. You're gonna see a lot of crazy baseball, but that's pretty much it for the week. I don't got much else. Some side news. Raiders won again, 3-0. Mike's Giants lost again, 0-3.
They lose to the Falcons.
They lost to the Falcons after holding a 14-6 lead in the fourth quarter, I believe.
That's about right.
14-7 lead in the fourth quarter.
That don't matter.
It don't matter. It could have been 14. It could have been 140 to nothing in the fourth quarter. They would have lost. Which brings you to the New York teams, and you wanted them, New York. They're your teams. Don't call them the New Jersey teams now because they're stinking. Combined 0-6. Start the year. Both teams before October out of the playoffs already.
Embarrassing.
I think you can honestly say that.
Oh yeah.
Both teams out of the hunt before October in the biggest market, top 2 biggest markets in all sports. So there's your little football update. But Raiders 3-0.
And the Chiefs having issues.
Chiefs in last place. Sole possession of last place.
I know you're loving that every second of it.
Yeah, sole possession of last place for the greatest team on earth, they say.
Sure.
So, but the Raiders in first place. A couple teams still undefeated. So the Miami Dolphins, 72 Dolphins can't pop the cork yet on that champagne. But football is been off to a crazy 3 weeks already, which I think every sports season this year we expected was going to be just nuts.
Yeah. Well.
Fans and things going back to somewhat normal. So this is going to be the craziest year for a lot of sports. In baseball, Mariners are still in the hunt. I think that's your
over the A's.
And the Giants have 100 and something wins.
Yeah.
So,
nothing makes sense.
Yeah. The world's not normal. Buster Posey's having the best season he's ever had offensively, and he hasn't played in 2 years. And he's 30-something years, 40 years old. I mean, we're just...
I don't know where we're at.
Yeah. Cueto will come back off the injury here. He'll throw like a no-hitter in the playoffs and go nuts. We're just I don't know what's going on. We got a 19-year-old kid, 41 game on base streak. We're just.
I know. It's just nothing makes sense.
No.
The world's upside down.
Yeah, I don't know. And we lost so many superstars to injury this year, but yet we gained so many superstars by, putting guys on the map, like Ohtani being taking into his full-fledged superstardom.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wander Franco going nuts. We just gained so many superstars, even though we haven't had our main ones play most of the year. So that's nuts in his own. Joey Votto, resurgence, 40 home runs, hitting the ball 700 feet today. I mean, I don't know what's going on.
I know. It's just impossible to predict. It really is.
Multiple 16-game win streak. The A's had a 13-game win streak. We had the other team, I think, had a 12-game win streak. We also had losing streaks of 15 games, 16 games. Diamondbacks were 6-48 at one point on the stretch. I mean, we're just seeing a little bit of everything.
I know. It's just what a weird. That's all I could ever describe. It's just a weird season.
Still got a week to go.
Yeah, everything I know about baseball is just wrong. So
yeah,
I'm sure the rest of the season will be just like that, topsy-turvy. So you never know what can happen. You never know who's going to win any given day. So with that, I think that's about it for this episode, and we'll look forward to the last week of the season.
Yeah, it should be exciting. Excited to see what happens. Excited to get the playoffs started. And again, on the other side of the news, hopefully the Raiders continue to keep winning.
Yeah, and keep the Chiefs in last. I know that's good for you.
Yeah, it's always good for everybody. So.
All right, well then, with that, I say we wrap this one up.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, well, thank you guys for listening. You can catch this podcast on Apple Podcasts as well as Google Podcasts and Spotify. You can listen on our regularly updated YouTube channel as well as our website, screwball.podbean.com. You can follow me on Twitter at RealMikeLepre. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Lepre.
And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at FDubs10.
You can follow our official Screwball Twitter at ScrewballPod. You can follow our official Screwball Facebook at ScrewballPod. No E in Screw. And that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yep, take care.